Jin-Ho Kim wiped the sweat from his forehead as he worked on fixing another broken engine part. The air in the maintenance bay of the Stellar Dawn was always too hot for humans, but perfect for the alien crew. He had asked many times to adjust the temperature, but the ship's chief engineer, Kralex, always ignored his requests. "Human, you missed a spot," Kralex said from behind him. The alien's voice was filled with mock concern. "Perhaps your primitive eyes cannot see the proper way to clean our advanced technology." Jin-Ho took a deep breath and continued working. He had been the best mechanic at the Space Academy on Earth, but here on the Stellar Dawn, none of that mattered. To them, he was just another primitive human. "I can see just fine," Jin-Ho replied calmly, his hand steady as he carefully reassembled the complex engine part. "This section will work 30% better than before once I'm finished." Kralex made a sound that passed for laughter among his species. His crystalline body sparkled under the bright maintenance bay lights. 30%. Your species barely understands how our engines work. You should stick to cleaning duties." Other alien crew members passing by snickered at Kralex's words. Jin-Ho ignored them and focused on his work. The truth was, he understood the ship's technology better than most of the alien crew. He had studied their engineering manuals every night for months after joining the crew, but no one ever bothered to check his work or his improvements. As Jin-Ho finished the repairs, his tablet beeped. It was a message from Captain Hainul Park, one of the few other humans aboard the massive ship. "Jin-Ho, please report to my office when you're done." He closed his tools and stood up, his joints stiff from working in the awkward position for hours. Before he could leave, Kralex blocked his path. "Where do you think you're going?" "There are 3 more maintenance tasks assigned to you today," the alien engineer said. "Captain Park requested my presence." Jin-Ho replied, showing him the message. "Ah yes, your human captain. How fortunate for your kind to have one of your own in command of a single section." Kralex's crystalline form shimmered with amusement. "Very well, go. The real work will wait for your return." Jin-Ho walked through the long corridors of the Stellar Dawn, nodding politely to passing crew members who mostly ignored him. The ship was a marvel of alien engineering, stretching over 2 kilometers in length. Its halls were filled with advanced technology that most humans could only dream of understanding, but Jin-Ho understood it all, even if no one believed he did. He reached Captain Park's office and knocked on the door. Inside, Hainul Park sat behind a desk covered in holographic displays. Unlike most sections of the ship, the captain's office was kept at a comfortable temperature for humans. "Jin-Ho, come in," Hainul said warmly. "How are the repairs going?" "Just finished the main engine coupling, Captain. It's running better than factory specifications now." Jin-Ho stood straight, proud of his work despite the lack of recognition. Hainul nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I know it's not easy being here, Jin-Ho. The Galactic Alliance insisted on having human crew members, but most aliens still see us as newcomers to space travel. They forget that being new doesn't mean being incapable. I can handle the mockery, Captain. As long as I can keep working on the engines, I'm happy." Jin-Ho meant it. He loved working with the advanced technology, even if it meant dealing with Kralex's constant insults. "That's good to hear," Hainul said, "because I have a special assignment for you. Something that requires your particular skills." He pressed a button on his desk, and a hologram appeared between them. "We've detected some unusual energy readings in the maintenance systems, readings that our alien crew can't explain. I want you to investigate." Jin-Ho studied the hologram carefully. The energy pattern was unlike anything he had seen before. "When do I start?" "Right now," Hainul replied. "And Jin-Ho, be careful. Something tells me this is more than just a simple maintenance issue." As Jin-Ho left the office, he felt a mixture of excitement and curiosity. Finally, a chance to prove his worth. Little did he know, this assignment would change not only his life, but the way the entire galaxy viewed humanity. Jin-Ho sat alone in the maintenance control room, studying the strange energy readings on his screen. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machinery. He had been working for hours, trying to understand the unusual patterns Captain Park had shown him. As he adjusted the scanning frequency, something unexpected happened. A faint signal appeared on his monitor. Unlike anything he had seen before, it wasn't coming from the ship's systems. It was coming from deep space. Jin-Ho leaned closer to his screen, adjusting the signal strength. The pattern was repeating every few seconds, too regular to be random space noise. It had to be artificial. "What are you doing in here, human?" Krell X's voice made Jin-Ho jump. The alien engineer stood in the doorway, his crystalline body casting rainbow reflections on the walls. "I'm investigating some unusual energy readings, sir," Jin-Ho replied, quickly saving the signal data to his tablet. "Captain Park assigned me to this task." Krell X moved closer, his crystal segments clicking as he walked. "Energy readings? Let me see." He pushed Jin-Ho aside and looked at the screen. "There's nothing here but standard space background noise. You're wasting time that could be spent on real maintenance work." Just then, Jin-Ho's tablet beeped loudly. The signal had grown stronger. Krell X turned to look at the device. "What is that noise?" the alien engineer demanded. It's a distress signal," Jin-Ho said, his eyes widening as he decoded the pattern. "It's coming from somewhere in the outer rim sectors." Krell X made a dismissive gesture. "Impossible. Our main communications array would have detected any distress signals in range. Your primitive equipment must be malfunctioning." But Jin-Ho wasn't listening anymore. He was already sending the data to Captain Park's office. Within minutes, his communicator buzzed. "Report to my office immediately," Captain Park's voice said. "Bring all your data." When Jin-Ho arrived, he found not only Captain Park, but also several senior alien officers in the room. Their expressions were a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "Show us what you found," Newell said, gesturing to the main display screen. Jin-Ho connected his tablet and displayed the signal pattern. "It's broadcasting on an extremely low frequency, below our normal scanning range. That's why the ship's main systems didn't detect it. But the pattern is clear. It's a distress call, using an encoding method I've never seen before." One of the alien officers, Commander Vix, stepped forward. Her insectoid features clicked in annoyance. "Captain Park, surely you don't believe this. The humans' equipment is obviously faulty. We cannot waste time chasing phantom signals." "Let him finish," Newell said firmly. "Jin-Ho, can you trace the signal's origin?" Jin-Ho nodded, bringing up another display. "Yes, sir. It's coming from Sector 47X, near the Edge Nebula. According to our charts, there's nothing out there but empty space. Empty space that no ship has explored in over 100 years," Newell added thoughtfully. "The nebula's radiation makes it too dangerous for normal travel." Commander Vix's antennae twitched. "Exactly why we should ignore this false signal. No ship could survive out there. Unless," Jin-Ho said quietly, "it's been out there longer than 100 years." The room fell silent. Even Krell X stopped his usual dismissive movements. Newell stood up, his decision made. "Plot a course to the signal's origin. We'll maintain safe distance from the nebula's radiation field." "Captain," Commander Vix protested, "this is highly irregular. We should consult with Central Command first." "There's no time," Jin-Ho interrupted, pointing to his data. "The signal is getting weaker. Whatever's out there, it's failing. We might not get another chance to find it." Newell nodded. "Agreed. This is still my command sector, and galactic law requires us to investigate all potential distress signals. Set course for Sector 47X, maximum safe speed." As the alien officers filed out, some grumbling in their native languages, Newell turned to Jin-Ho. "Good work, but be prepared. If we find nothing out there, the crew will never let you forget it." Jin-Ho smiled slightly. "And if we do find something?" "Then," Newell said, things might get very interesting indeed. The stellar dawn slowed as it approached the edge of the radiation field. Through the main viewport, the Edge Nebula painted the darkness with swirling colors of purple and blue. Jin-Ho stood on the bridge with Captain Park, watching as the ship's sensors searched for the source of the mysterious signal. "There," Jin-Ho said, pointing to a blip on his tablet. "Something large is floating just inside the safe zone of the radiation field." Captain Park ordered the ship's external lights activated. Powerful beams cut through the darkness, revealing something that made everyone on the bridge gasp. A massive ship hung motionless in space. Its design was unlike anything Jin-Ho had ever seen. The vessel was elegant but clearly ancient, its dark hull covered in strange markings that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Incredible," Haynul whispered. "It must be at least 2 kilometers long." Commander Vic stepped forward, her insectoid legs clicking on the metal floor. "Scans show no power signatures, no life signs. The ship appears to be completely dead. Yet it sent out a signal," Jin-Ho reminded them. "Something on that ship is still working." Krell X, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. "The radiation levels around the vessel are too high for our safety protocols. We cannot send a boarding party." "The levels are high," Jin-Ho agreed, studying his readings, "but not impossible. A single person in a radiation suit could safely board for about 2 hours." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what Jin-Ho was suggesting. Captain Park turned to face his crew. "I need volunteers for a boarding mission," he announced. The alien crew members stepped back. Their crystalline and insectoid bodies were particularly sensitive to radiation. Even with protection, they would be at risk. Jin-Ho stepped forward. "I volunteer," he said firmly. Krell X made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Of course you do, human. Always eager to prove yourself, even if it means walking into certain death." "The radiation levels are within human tolerance limits," Jin-Ho replied calmly. "And I'm the most qualified person to investigate any working systems we might find." Captain Park nodded slowly. "He's right. Jin-Ho, you have my permission. But you must stay in constant communication and return immediately if your radiation exposure approaches dangerous levels." The next hour was spent preparing for the mission. Jin-Ho put on a radiation suit while the ship's crew prepared a small shuttle for him. As he checked his equipment one last time, Captain Park approached him in the launch bay. "Be careful out there," Haynul said quietly. "We still don't know what happened to that ship or its crew." Jin-Ho nodded, sealing his helmet. "I'll be careful. And Captain, thank you for trusting me." The shuttle launched smoothly from the stellar dawn. As Jin-Ho piloted it toward the ancient vessel, he could see more details of its strange design. The hull was covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. They reminded him of old stories about magic, though he knew it had to be some kind of advanced technology. He found a docking port that matched surprisingly well with his shuttle's universal adapter. As he connected with the dead ship, his instruments detected a faint power surge somewhere deep inside. "I'm picking up some kind of energy reading," he reported back to the stellar dawn. "It's very weak, but it's there. I'm going in." "Remember," Captain Park's voice crackled through his comm, 2 hours maximum. After that, the radiation shielding might fail. Jin-Ho stepped through the airlock and into the ancient ship. His suit lights revealed long corridors with graceful arches, unlike the practical designs of modern vessels. Everything was covered in a fine layer of dust, untouched for who knew how many centuries. "This is amazing," he breathed, his words carried back to the waiting crew. "This ship, it's like nothing we've ever seen. And something tells me we've only scratched the surface of its secrets." Jin-Ho moved carefully through the ancient ship's corridors, his suit lights casting long shadows on the dusty walls. His radiation detector beeped steadily, reminding him that time was limited. After 20 minutes of exploration, he found something unusual, a door that seemed different from the others. "Captain, I found some kind of sealed chamber," he reported back to the stellar dawn. The markings here are unlike anything else on the ship. Be careful. Haenul's voice crackled through his comm. What makes it different? Jinho studied the door closely. Unlike the other entrances, this one had no visible control panel. Instead, the entire surface was covered in flowing patterns that seemed to pulse faintly under his lights. The patterns here, they're not just decorative, Jinho said, reaching out to touch the surface. There's some kind of technology, but it's built right into the material of the door. Commander Vix's voice cut in. Do not touch anything, human. You could trigger defense systems. But as Jinho's gloved hand touched the door, something unexpected happened. The patterns began to glow with a soft blue light. Lines of energy spread out from his touch, forming new patterns across the door's surface. It's responding to me, Jinho reported, fascination overcoming his caution. The patterns are changing. Krell X's voice joined the conversation. Impossible. That technology is dead. It's been dead for centuries. The door's surface continued to change, the patterns flowing like water until they formed what looked like a simple puzzle. Jinho studied it carefully. The design reminded him of old circuit diagrams he had studied at the Space Academy. I think I understand what it wants, he said slowly. It's not just a lock. It's a test. Using both hands now, Jinho began to trace the patterns, following the flow of energy. He could feel subtle vibrations through his gloves as each correct move triggered new responses in the door. Jinho, your radiation exposure is reaching 40% of maximum, Captain Park warned. Whatever you're going to do it quickly. The patterns under Jinho's hand suddenly flared bright blue. There was a deep humming sound, and the door began to slide open, revealing a chamber beyond that took his breath away. Captain, you need to see this, Jinho whispered, stepping into the room. The chamber was perfectly preserved, as if it had been sealed away from time itself. In the center stood what appeared to be a suit of armor, suspended in a field of softly glowing energy. But this was no ordinary armor. Its design was both beautiful and terrifying, mixing organic curves with technological precision. Are you seeing this through my suit camera? Jinho asked, moving closer to the armor. We see it, Haenul confirmed, his voice filled with awe. But what is it? The armor was humanoid in shape, which seemed impossible for a ship this ancient. As Jinho approached, more patterns began to light up around the chamber, and a soft voice filled his helmet. Genetic profile detected, the voice said in perfect, unaccented English. Human compatibility, 99.9%. Welcome, descendant. Did everyone else hear that? Jinho asked, his heart pounding. We heard it, Captain Park replied. But how is it speaking our language? And what does it mean by descendant? The energy field around the armor began to fade. More lights activated throughout the chamber, revealing walls covered in what looked like star maps and technical diagrams. I don't know, Jinho said, watching as the armor became fully visible. But I think we're about to find out why this ship was waiting all these years. The strange voice spoke again. Protocol activated. Beginning integration sequence. Please step forward, descendant. Jinho looked at the armor, his mind racing with questions. After all the years of being mocked as a primitive human, he had found something that seemed to have been waiting specifically for someone like him. The decision he made next would change everything. Jinho stood before the armor, his heart racing. The chamber's soft blue light pulsed gently around him, almost like a heartbeat. Jinho, your radiation exposure is at 50%, Captain Park's voice warned through the comm. You need to make a decision. Taking a deep breath, Jinho stepped forward. As he moved closer, the armor began to change. Sections of it opened like a flower blooming, revealing an interior that seemed to shimmer with life. Beginning integration process, the mysterious voice announced. Please remove your radiation suit. Remove my suit? Jinho asked, surprised. But the radiation levels. This chamber is protected. "You will be safe," the voice assured him. Captain Park's voice crackled through the comm again. "Jin-Ho, the readings confirm it. Radiation levels inside that chamber are nearly zero. It's safe." Slowly, Jin-Ho removed his radiation suit. The air in the chamber was cool and clean, as if it had been waiting just for this moment. As he stepped closer to the armor, it continued to unfold until it was completely open. "My name is Sunmei," the voice said softly. "I am the guardian of this armor and keeper of the predecessor's legacy. You are the first compatible human we have found in over 10,000 years." "Predecessors?" Jin-Ho asked, watching as the armor's surface rippled like liquid metal. "Who were they?" "They were your ancestors," Sunmei explained. "The first human civilization to reach the stars. They built this ship, this armor, and many other wonders. But they vanished long ago, leaving only their guardians to wait for their descendants." The armor began to move on its own, pieces floating gently toward Jin-Ho. "Do not be afraid," Sunmei said. "The integration process is natural. The armor was designed for beings exactly like you." Jin-Ho stood still as the armor began to wrap around him. It was surprisingly warm and felt almost alive. Each piece connected smoothly with the next, creating a perfect seal. There was no weight, no pressure. It felt like wearing a second skin. "Warning," Sunmei announced suddenly. "Ship approaching. Void Hunter signatures detected." Through the armor, Jin-Ho could suddenly see everything. The ship's systems, the approaching danger, even the worried faces of the crew on the Stellar Dawn. The armor was showing him things he had never imagined possible. The Void Hunters were ancient enemies of the predecessors, Sunmei explained quickly. They hunt any signs of predecessor technology. They must have detected the armor's activation. Captain Park's voice came through, now crystal clear despite the distance. "Jin-Ho, we're detecting 3 ships approaching at high speed. They're not responding to hails. The armor will teach you what you need to know," Sunmei said calmly. "Your human mind is already adapting to its systems faster than expected. You are more like the predecessors than even I anticipated." Jin-Ho felt knowledge flowing into his mind. The armor wasn't just a protective suit. It was a combination of technology and biology far beyond anything in the current galaxy. He saw images of the predecessors, how they had built their civilization, and why they had hidden this ship here. "Your friends are in danger," Sunmei reminded him. "The Void Hunters will destroy any ship they find near predecessor technology. You must protect them." Through his new connection to the armor, Jin-Ho could sense the Void Hunters approaching. Their ships were dark and predatory, moving with deadly purpose toward the Stellar Dawn. "I don't know how to fight," Jin-Ho admitted, even as more knowledge flowed into his mind. "You don't need to know," Sunmei replied. "The armor remembers. Let it guide you. Show them that the predecessor's power lives on in their children." Jin-Ho felt strength and confidence flowing through him. For the first time since joining the Stellar Dawn's crew, he felt truly powerful. Now it was time to show everyone, aliens and Void Hunters alike, what a human could really do. The Void Hunters' ships emerged from the nebula like dark shadows. Their black hulls absorbed all light, making them look like holes in space. On the bridge of the Stellar Dawn, alarms blared as the crew rushed to battle stations. "Shields at maximum," Commander Vix reported, her insectoid limbs moving quickly across the control panels. "But their weapons are unlike anything in our database." Captain Park stood at the center of the bridge, watching as the enemy ships surrounded them. "Try hailing them again," he ordered. "They're not interested in talking," Kralek said, his crystalline form dimming with fear. "Our weapons can't penetrate their hulls. We need to retreat." The first attack came without warning. A beam of dark energy struck the Stellar Dawn's shields, making the entire ship shudder. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Shields at 60% from a single hit," Commander Vix announced, her voice tight with concern. "We cannot survive sustained fire." In the ancient ship's chamber, Jin-Ho watched through the armor's enhanced vision as the Void Hunters prepared for another attack. The knowledge flowing from the armor showed him exactly what they were facing. Suddenly, he said, "How do I get back to the stellar dawn?" "The armor can fly through space," the AI responded. "But are you sure you're ready? The integration is not complete." Another blast rocked the stellar dawn. Through his connection to the armor, Jin-Ho could hear Captain Park ordering emergency power to the shields. "There's no time," Jin-Ho said firmly. "They need help now." The armor responded to his thoughts, surrounding him with an energy field. The chamber's wall opened, creating an airlock to space. Jin-Ho felt no fear as he stepped toward it. The armor made him feel secure. "Remember," Sun Mei advised, "the armor responds to intention. Think of what you want to do, and it will show you how." Jin-Ho launched himself into space. The armor's power carried him smoothly through the void, its systems automatically adjusting to keep him safe and on course. As he approached the stellar dawn, he could see the damage from the Void Hunter's attacks. On the stellar dawn's bridge, Kral X was the first to spot him. "Captain, something is approaching. It's coming from the ancient ship." Jin-Ho's voice came through the ship's comm system, clear and strong. "This is Jin-Ho. Don't fire. I'm here to help." "Jin-Ho." Captain Park leaned forward in his chair, staring at the armored figure flying through space. "What happened to you?" Before Jin-Ho could answer, the Void Hunters attacked again. This time, their weapons targeted him. Dark energy beams converged on his position, but the armor reacted instantly. A shield of pure energy formed around him, deflecting the attacks harmlessly into space. "Impossible," Commander Vix whispered, watching her displays. "He's absorbing energy levels that would destroy our largest battleships." The armor's knowledge flowed through Jin-Ho's mind, showing him exactly what to do. He raised his hand, and pure energy gathered around it. When he released it, the beam cut through space like a sword of light, slicing through one of the Void Hunter ship's weapons. "The armor remembers them," Jin-Ho explained, his voice calm despite the battle raging around him. "It knows exactly how to fight them." The Void Hunters focused all their attacks on Jin-Ho now, recognizing him as the greater threat. But with each attack, the armor grew stronger, absorbing and learning from their energy. The bridge crew of the Stellar Dawn watched in amazement as their former maintenance worker danced through space, fighting enemies their most advanced weapons couldn't touch. The space around the Stellar Dawn lit up with energy as Jin-Ho faced the Void Hunters. His armor glowed with power, each movement precise and purposeful. Through the armor's systems, he could see the enemy ship's weak points clearly. "Their ships run on stolen technology," Sun Mai explained in his mind. "Technology they took from the predecessors long ago, but they never fully understood how it worked." Jin-Ho moved with increasing confidence, letting the armor guide his actions. When the next attack came, he didn't just block it. He caught the energy beam in his hand and sent it back at the attacking ship. The dark vessel's shields shattered instantly. On the Stellar Dawn's bridge, the crew watched in stunned silence. Captain Park stood at the main viewport, barely able to believe what he was seeing. Even Kral X had stopped making dismissive comments. "The energy readings from that armor," Commander Vix said, checking her instruments. "They're beyond anything in our records. How is this possible?" The remaining Void Hunter ships began to retreat, their dark hulls showing heavy damage. But before they could escape, Jin-Ho raised both hands. Streams of pure energy shot from the armor, wrapping around the enemy ships like glowing nets. "You won't threaten anyone else," Jin-Ho said firmly. The armor responded to his thoughts, tightening its grip on the captured vessels. Sun Mi's voice filled his mind again. "It's time they learned the truth. Show them what the predecessors left behind." Jin-Ho focused his thoughts, and the armor projected a massive hologram into space. Images appeared, showing the history of the predecessors, the first human civilization to reach the stars. The images showed vast cities among the stars, incredible technologies, and peaceful contact with other species. "Impossible," Kral X whispered, his crystalline form trembling. Humans are newcomers to space. They can't be. The predecessors were the first. Sun Mi's voice now broadcast to all ships in range. They built wonders across the galaxy. But when the Void Hunters emerged from dark space, threatening all life, the predecessors sacrificed themselves to push them back. The hologram showed the final battle, where the predecessors used their most powerful technologies to seal the Void Hunters away. But the effort cost them everything. Their civilization fell, and humanity had to begin again on Earth. The predecessors knew they would fall. Sun Mi continued. They left behind guardians like me, waiting in ships like this one, protecting their legacy until their children were ready to return to the stars. Jin Ho brought the captured Void Hunter ships closer to the stellar dawn. Inside his armor, he could sense their crew's fear. They had spent centuries hunting predecessor technology, never knowing they were fighting the ancestors of the very species they dismissed as primitive. "Your weapons," Commander Vic said suddenly, understanding dawning in her compound eyes. "They're not just advanced technology. They're your inheritance." The predecessors built this armor for their descendants, Jin Ho confirmed. They knew humanity would reach the stars again. They wanted us to be ready when we did. Captain Park stepped forward, his voice filled with pride. Then all this time, when we thought humans were just beginning our journey into space, we were really coming home, Jin Ho finished. Through the armor, he could feel the truth of it. Every star map, every piece of technology, it all felt familiar, like memories passed down through time itself. The crew of the Stellar Dawn looked at Jin Ho with new eyes. He was no longer just a human maintenance worker. He was living proof that humanity's story was far greater than anyone had imagined. 1 month after the battle with the Void Hunters, the Stellar Dawn looked very different. The ship's maintenance bay, once a place of mockery for Jin Ho, had been transformed into a training center. The armor, now permanently bonded to Jin Ho, stood in a special chamber while he worked with others. "Focus on your intention," Jin Ho explained to a group of students, both human and alien. The predecessor's technology responds to thought and purpose, not just button pressing. Among his students was Kral X, whose crystalline form now showed respect rather than contempt when addressing Jin Ho. The alien engineer had spent days studying the ancient ship's technology, amazed by its complexity. "I was wrong about humans," Kral X admitted one day after training. "We all were. Your people weren't primitive. They were just finding their way back to what they had lost." Captain Park watched from the doorway as Jin Ho demonstrated another technique. The discovery of humanity's true heritage had changed everything. The Galactic Alliance had been shocked to learn that humans were descendants of the legendary predecessors. "The armor is just the beginning." Sun Mi's voice came through the ship's systems. She had been integrated into the Stellar Dawn's computers, bringing the ancient wisdom of the predecessors to the modern ship. "There are more guardians waiting, more ships hidden throughout the galaxy. Each one holds different pieces of your inheritance." Jin Ho nodded, letting the armor flow over him like liquid metal. "And we'll find them all. But this time, we'll do it together, humans and aliens working as equals." Commander Vix, who had become one of Jin Ho's strongest supporters, entered the training room with exciting news. "We've detected another signal," she announced, her antennae twitching with excitement. "It matches the pattern of your guardianship." The crew gathered around the main display as she showed them the coordinates. The signal was coming from deep in unexplored space, far from any known settlements. "The predecessors left their legacy in many places," Sun Mi explained. "They knew their children would need time to grow, to learn, to become ready for their inheritance. Each discovery will help humanity remember who they truly are." Jin Ho looked at his fellow crew members, humans and aliens standing together, eager to explore. The old barriers of prejudice had fallen away, replaced by a shared sense of purpose and wonder. "Captain," Jin Ho said, turning to He Newell, "request permission to lead an expedition to investigate the signal." "Granted," Captain Park replied with a smile. "But this time, you'll have a full team with you." No more solo missions into mysterious ships. As the crew began preparing for their new mission, Jin-Ho spent a moment alone in his quarters. Through the viewport, he could see the stars stretching endlessly before them. The armor hummed softly, a constant reminder of the amazing journey that had begun with a simple maintenance worker finding his true heritage. The Void Hunters will return, Sun Mai warned quietly. They've hunted predecessor technology for too long to give up now. Let them come, Jin-Ho replied confidently. We'll be ready. And this time, we're not just protecting technology, we're protecting our future, all of our futures. The Stellar Dawn's engines powered up, ready to carry its crew into the unknown. As they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Jin-Ho looked at his reflection in the viewport. The armor shimmered around him, no longer feeling strange or alien. It was part of him now, just as his newfound knowledge and purpose were part of him. They had a galaxy to explore, mysteries to uncover, and a legacy to reclaim. But most importantly, they had each other, a crew united by the discovery that the future belonged to everyone, human and alien alike.